This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Welcome to the Racing Action Today. We're here today with special guest, SCCA racer and automotive performance company, Z2, Marc Ulan. Marc, pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, you've been doing this SCCA racing in places like Lime Rock, I assume.
Yep.
And I got to ask you, though, how did this all start, this racing? I mean, where did it start? Were you a kid or late in life? Or how did this start?
So the desire to do it and the reality of doing it, there was a big gap in between those things. I mean, for me, I grew up from 4 years old. I was a speed racer was my
Go-karts
was my thing. I mean, before that, I start anything with wheels, right? You know, like I was a kid, anything with wheels, tricycle, bicycle, evolved to mini bikes and then dirt bikes and you know, one after the other. And for me, just racing was something I always wanted to do. And I grew up, my plan, if you will, through high school was I was going to get out of high school, work as a mechanic, and then open up a shop of my own, build race cars, and do that.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
That was the desire. The reality is I started down that path and then got diverted and ended up going to college and having a secondary career. But through that, one of the years, it was something I always wanted to do, and I would come back to it every now and then to try to figure out, how do you even get involved to start this?
Yeah.
And I got to a point, my wife got me for one of my birthday presents, a thing where we went to Thompson Motor Speedway and you drive
like
one
a
of the
track
stock
day
cars.
or something?
Yeah. And I came out of that and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I got to do this. I got to figure out, you know, how do I actually get out there on the track? And it's interesting because I'm trying to figure it out. And of course, where do you go? You go to the internet.
Yeah.
And so I Googled, like, how do you start doing this stuff?
Yeah.
And I found a sort of what felt like maybe a random site that came up that explained, here's how you do it.
Go to school, go to take a couple of schools, right?
He talked about
on-track experience.
Talked about, right, the various ways that you can get out there. And the interesting thing was, it was a little thing that said, you know, click here for a mentor to get, aligned with a mentor.
Yeah.
And, you know, right, it's online. How often do you click something, nothing ever happens, right? You figure nothing's going to happen. So, whatever, I'll do it. I click on it, I type in my name, I guess probably my email address.
Yeah.
And I, clicked OK and then went on to something else and completely forgot about it. And then I don't know how much longer later, but a little bit while later, somebody responded to me and said, hey, you were on our site and it looks like you are interested in racing.
Yep.
And I responded back and we went back and forth. And I was asking about, this is a website. It could be anywhere in the world, right? Who knows where these people are going to be? It turned out the gentleman lived in Newington, which is 10 minutes from where I live in Berlin. And, we started talking and he said, hey, look, we're going to be at Lime Rock in a little bit. Why don't you come out with us? And I did. I went with him and it poured all weekend. And so there was almost no racing, but he walked me around, introduced me to a bunch of different racers.
Gave it a feel at a place, huh?
Got a feel for it, what it's like. I, got to meet some guys. And I said, that's it. I'm going to do this. And then next year, this was the end of the year when this started. Next year, I went to the first Skip Barber school available. 3-day school. It snowed a little bit because it was April. And, went through that and got my competition license through Skip Barber.
Through Skip Barber, yep.
As a lot of folks do. And I purchased a Spec Miata from one of the guys I had met the year before when Dave took me out.
The Spec Miata, that number 28 car,
my car's
I believe, right?
Yep.
Was that your original car?
No, I had another one before that that I bought from a guy that I met at the track with Dave the year before. So I had a different one. It was number 18. And we ran that for about 10 years.
Wow.
Cracked it up a couple times. We were always able to bend it back into place.
Yeah, straighten it out.
And then the last time, though, on a start at Lime Rock, somebody got me from behind and sent me directly into the infield wall.
Hard hit.
and it bent the car. The firewall was bent, and
Yeah.
at that point, it's really not worth saving
Yeah,
it.
it's not worth saving. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and then you progress to the number 28, which I see a picture of, and I believe they'll show it when we're talking here. And now tell me, in that Spec Miata class, it's heavily competitive. I mean, people are into this thing.
Yeah. Very, very much so. I think it's probably the most competitive class in SCCA right now.
Sure. Well, I mean, really, when you think about it, it's not big money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a chance to go to some good places, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In terms of racing, it's probably one of the lowest costs of entry
Yeah.
to getting out there. Common, car with a lot of availability. Well, we're kind of crashing a lot of them, but made a lot of Miatas. They handle really well. Parts are available generally, and it just makes a perfect race car, especially someone trying to get in or someone trying to race on somewhat of a budget.
Now, there is a national point system for this. Is that right?
Yeah, there is.
In SCCA?
Mm-hmm.
And have you gone to any other tracks?
So I've raced. So I'm associated with the New England region,
Yeah.
and we race typically in New England in this area. I've been to Watkins Glen, which is not a New England race.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, my experience so far is within the New England tracks. We do host now a nationals event at Thompson each year.
Yeah.
So through that, I've competed with the national.
Would you believe, they just, of course, Thompson is new, sort of new. The very first vintage event they did, I covered that day.
Wow.
It was fantastic because I haven't been. My experience at Thompson was always the circle track.
Mm-hmm.
And to go to this new event, where they road raced, and it was pretty good, I'll tell you. I'm pretty impressed with the place.
They did a really nice job. It's a really fun track to drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I'd call a car control track. It really rewards. It's not about horsepower. It's about controlling
Momentum.
the car. Momentum, exactly. And it's fun to drive. And from a spectator view, it's one of the few tracks that you can see almost the entire track.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of tracks, there's a
you don't see it.
You don't really see it as a spectator, but Thompson, if you're in the right place, at least you can see almost the entire track. So it's a good place to go watch as well.
Now, do you belong to a certain club beside SCCA? Mm-hmm. Is there like a Miata club or something else?
I don't belong. Perhaps I should. I'm not part of one.
But there are some organizations you could go to, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there must be.
Yeah. Did you ever do any autocrossing?
I didn't know. I know a lot of guys do that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I worked with someone who did that on the national level, and he had a lot of success, him and his son. And he would tell me about it all the time at work, and I would tell him about the races I was in.
Yeah.
So and I always told him I'm going to come out one of ththese days, but I haven't done it yet. But something I'd like to do one of these days.
You never know, right?
Exactly.
Well, last year, Mark, when we did a couple of events at Lime Rock, one of the events was called Grid Life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's become very popular. There's a class there called Sunday Cup, and these are small cars like Honda Fits. And I teased my wife. I said, and matter of fact, when we were there, she said, I could do this.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? We just may do this. It's right. And we had more fun that day with them kids, I'll tell you. They just go out and they go to the thing that I just couldn't believe. They go to every major racetrack in the country,
Mm-hmm.
from east to west.
Yeah.
I mean, their last event was at Laguna Seca. Could you imagine?
They've grown quickly.
Oh, yeah.
That group, because I don't think it's that old.
No, it's not very old.
I never heard of it 5 years ago. So, I mean, they came up
yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that I was aware of the Grid Life event at Lime Rock last year, and I haven't been to one yet, but my understanding, at least, is that it's a slightly different culture than SCCA. It's a little bit more about the joy of the race versus,
Yes.
driving someone into a wall.
Yeah, it's the joy of the race. I mean, they even have concerts.
Right. That's right.
And they said to me, "You going to the arcade?" What do you mean arcade?
There's an arcade.
They have like a tent in an arcade. I said, "Oh my dear." But they were nice people. I really enjoyed it. I really did. You know.
The because we talked a little bit about the Miata class in SCCA. It could be like a demo derby at times. That's a challenging class because of that. So it's interesting to see another organization saying, "Look, guys, we don't have to crash up our cars to go out here and have some fun."
No, I mean, just like vintage races and the same.
Yep.
You know, it's not about who's going to win the race. It's just, you know, let's go out and have some fun.
Yeah.
And bring the car home in one piece.
Exactly.
You know. Now you've been to Watkins Glen. That had to be. I mean, that place is huge.
It's huge. It is cavernous. It's probably my favorite track. It is a real joy to drive, especially the full track, the long version of the track. It's just got a great rhythm to it, a really nice pace between having to concentrate a lot versus I got a little bit of a break. And it's a little bit far away, so I don't get out there as much as I'd like to.
Is it fast though? I mean, do you really go fast?
On the, through the S's and down into what we call the bus stop, you're flat out in fifth gear. It goes as fast as the car can possibly go.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
At least in the Miata.
Yeah,
I mean, the 117, 118,
Yeah.
maybe that's all the car can do, but that's what you're at.
That's where you're at that.
You're just that for a while, just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here for a bit.
Wow, that's interesting. Oddly enough, I have never been there.
Oh, and not just the track. The track is great, but then there's the town too, and there's so much history. I just remember, like in the little Watkins Glen downtown, or whatever you want to call it, there's little medallions in the sidewalk, and like each one commemorates a driver.
Oh wow!
So it's just like the whole vibe.
It's a culture.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's good. Now, so you stay mostly in New England.
Yeah.
And Lime Rock has to become I'm sure, one of your favorite places, right?
Love it. Love it. It's a love-hate relationship with Lime Rock. It's a real fun track to drive. I always say it's an easy track to go fast. It's a really hard track to go faster. So you can get, and what I mean by that is that there's 7 turns. You can, by and large, figure them out enough to get in there and feel like you're somewhat competitive.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at the last second or the last tenths of a second, which is what you really need to get to the front, that's where it becomes hard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very technical. I laugh when I talk to people. They, when they go on, of course, now they name it Newman Straight there,
Right.
and they go over that hill, and the car leaves the ground.
Yes, it does. If you do it right, it does.
It leaves the ground.
That's how you know you're doing it right.
Oh, my dear. I mean, it has to be exciting, I'll tell you.
It is. It's a white knuckle track. Because you're flat. It's primarily a 4th gear track, and you're trying to keep that momentum. The uphill that you're talking about is a fun turn because you're literally going up a hill as you're turning, and the track out there is a fence and a tree. Like so it's you either there's nothing, you can't miss that. And you've got to get the car straightened out. As you crest the hill, you can't still be turning because that momentum could cause a lot of problems. So there's a lot going on, even in just that one turn.
I'm sure you're going pretty good when you go over that bump. I'm sure.
You are.
Right?
If you're doing it right, you are.
If you're doing it right, yeah. So you go to Lime Rock. Now, they have like special events during the year. Is it like a national thing? Not a national thing, but like a regional championship or something like that?
For SCCA?
Yes.
Yeah, SCCA is broken into regions throughout the country, and each region has its own set of races and its own championship.
Okay.
So the Northeast region runs, I'll probably get it wrong, but it's Lime Rock, Thompson, Palmer, New Hampshire. I don't know if I said Lime Rock. I think I see those 4 or 5 tracks.
Now, New Hampshire, they just add a couple twists and turns. Oddly enough, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. We put together a Honda motorcycle to race. Not me. We had a young fellow, Devin, our driver, and they race at that racetrack, oddly enough.
I know they race bikes there.
Oh, my dear. I'm going to tell you something.
Yep.
That is unreal.
Did they go clockwise or counterclockwise?
They go clockwise.
That's right. Right. That's so the cars we go counterclockwise.
Yeah.
I thought they might go.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple guys
So
that race there.
I've heard of a vintage racing going on there, that kind of thing, but I didn't know, how involved it was with SCCA. But it is, huh?
We get at least two races a year for SCCA in New Hampshire. It's a beautiful facility because NASCAR races there.
Yes.
So the garages are nice. There's like a little restaurant on site. So there's showers in the bathrooms.
Showers. Yes.
So it's a nice facility in that regard. In terms of a racetrack on the road course, no one likes it. I don't think anyone likes it. It's a really, you beat the crap out of your car. You're up on the curbs all the time. You never really feel like you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a train wreck.
Well, it's a compromise. See, that's, just to get it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you go there, and now Palmer is another place I have never been. I heard great things about it. Some people love it there.
It's a really fun track to drive. A lot of elevation change.
Now, is there a runoff there or no?
So that's the criticism that, if you consider a rock wall runoff, then that's
okay. So
it's
a little tight then.
It's very tight. I mean, they basically blasted it out of the side of a mountain. I mean, that's I think how they created it. And I know some guys. I guess I don't feel unsafe there, but if you really look at it, there's not a lot of room for error on that track.
Yeah, and with that's the last thing you want to do is go into a wall full bore. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And but I'd never been there. I'm gonna have to get out there to see what it looks like.
It's worth it to go to see it. It's tough. It's one that you can't really see a lot of the track as a spectator. You can see the front stretch, but there's a ton beyond that you'll never see.
Now, there's another track in New Hampshire called Canaan. I'm not sure, and I think they raced some cars on that track too. We know it as a motorcycle track.
Okay.
But they do race cars there, I believe.
So that one I don't know about. I haven't been there.
And to me, that would be an excellent place for a car like yours. Like, for a Miata class. Oh, yeah. Now, of course, Miatas now have become very, very popular. The newer ones, they have a special class, don't they? Like, what do you call it, MX-5 or something?
Right.
Now, that's even like a little step beyond.
Yeah, those are the newer cars. And I don't think that's I think that might be an SCCA Pro class, the MX-5 and the MX-5 Cup.
Yeah, so I know there's people involved in that, but that's a little beyond the normal, right?
Yeah.
The car may be a little bit more money.
The car's a little more money. You're spending more money on tires, and you're probably racing nationally. So that's a different level of commitment.
Now, in your class, Mark, I noticed the car had different letters, and is there like different groups within the Miata class?
There are. And so the interesting thing about the Miatas, they can run in a lot of different classes. So the class called SM, which is Spec Miata, that's obviously the natural fit for them. But there are other classes as well. There's a class called STL, Super Touring something or other. I don't know what the initials are, but you can run number of cars can race in that, but Miatas as well can race in that. We can race in a group called ITA, which is Improved Touring.
Yeah.
So the cars can have a lot of flexibility, and it's nice as a racer if you want to go through the weekend and get in more than one race. You can race in multiple classes.
That's nice to do, and I got to get up there and see some of these races with SCCA. For some reason, they discouraged filming. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've always ran into a wall, trying to get in there to film an event. I don't know why. They discourage it.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be. I would think that they'd want some of the publicity.
You would think so. I know Lime Rock does. That I do know.
Yeah.
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 But I'm going to have to look into that a little further.
I don't know why that would be, because I know SCCA has really pushed membership
Yes.
because it's a little difficult. It's somewhat of a aging group of individuals, and I know that they've done a lot to try to, keep membership going.
Yep.
So I would think that maybe some publicity would be good. Who knows?
Yeah, you would think so. And now they have, of course, a national runoff too. Is that correct?
That's right.
Is that change every year or no?
I think it's in a different location every year. I haven't gone to that yet. I'm hoping to one of these days.
So you, in your scheme of things, you're thinking one of these days I'm going to be there.
I'd love to be there. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to run the national class one of these days if possible. Maybe the shop, maybe my shop can help, help with that. But so far, I've done most of my racing regionally.
Yeah. Well, it's close by and it becomes a family event, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Zach is right there with you, right?
He's been there since
Your
he's
son?
3 years old. Yep.
Yeah. It's part of his life now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Lillian is there too, right?
She's absolutely. They're there all the way with me every time.
I mean, that's what makes the sport what it is, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's a family event.
It's a family event. It's a friend event. It's interesting because you can go without seeing some folks for a couple of years at the track for whatever reason, but then you show up and there they are, and it's like you never, it's like time didn't exist in between.
Yeah,
so it's a really, for me, it's one of the really nicest things out of it are the friendships.
And I've noticed since they incorporated some new people now in Lime Rock, it's so much different. I mean, it's like night and day the way that track is run. I'll tell you, really. I find that myself. I don't know about you. But
what have you found different? How have you seen
the way they promote the event, number one, and the way they treat you, it's like different. I don't know what the best word to use. It's like different to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that they have recently new ownership.
Yes.
Of the track, and it's and I know they have things like through the Lime Rock Club, trying to boost membership and things like that.
Well, the club has become a big deal all over the country, not only Lime Rock.
Right.
Every major track you go to, there's a club.
Yeah.
There's one in New York. I think that's all it is. They don't even hold events there, right?
I think that's Monticello, maybe, or something. Right, I've heard of that.
I mean, I don't even think they hold a public event, right?
I don't think they do. I always tell my wife, there's no threat of me joining the golf club, but I very well might join the club at Thompson Motor Speedway.
Yeah. And we've had events we covered in the past where they would have Ferrari Day, and we would go there, and they're interesting events too, because you got normal people, just going out on a racetrack with a Ferrari, and it's fun,
Absolutely.
And so there's no limit to what you could do there. I think eventually you're going to see things there like condominiums or something. Something's going to happen
at
there.
Lime Rock?
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
that would really
I
be
get
interesting.
that feeling that
would
it's going to
really
be that
cool.
kind of a place.
Yeah.
Of course, they had a war with the town for years, with the church.
Yep.
Because you can't race there on a Sunday.
Nothing on a Sunday.
And it's really, when you come to these big events, you're kind of tied up. You can't race Sunday. You got to either get them in Saturday or the following day, or mostly Saturday.
Yeah. SCCA, we raced there Friday, Saturday for the regional events. Fridays qualifying, Saturdays races. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. They hold a car show Sunday, which is nice, but that's been an ongoing war, though.
I know.
I don't know if that's ever going to get resolved.
I'm gonna guess no.
No, you don't think so? Yeah, but it's fun to be there. That over the years, I've come to love the place. Would you believe when I first started doing this filming, a show where we made up our minds we're going to do a show? That was my first event. Was a vintage car event at Lime Rock.
Wow,
and that was over 20 years ago.
Wow.
And but we loved it there. I'll tell you. So through the years, I met the nicest people, especially in vintage racing. I'm telling you, they are just special people, you know.
I think those folks, because they're out there for the love of it. They're out there for the love of the car, the love of the track.
Yes, yeah.
It's just the atmosphere,
Yes.
being with racers, being with car people.
You know, get the tent up. They're serving food. I mean, gourmet food. And it depends. You know, everyone's different.
Yep.
And, you know, I used to love to go to they had a Lamborghini event there. And they used to have a cappuccino machine in the tent. Oh, my God. I'd be wound up. I had like 6 or 7 then. I'd be wound up tight, let me tell you. Well, as usual, time is flying. And I really want to thank you for being with us today here, Mark. And I got to get up and watch your race.
Would love to see you out there. Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll have some fun, right?
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank the viewers for watching. And please tune in again next week to the Racing Action Today. This program is brought to you in part by Just Results Weight Loss Center in Berlin, Connecticut.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lin.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.